Hello and welcome to Flicks and Chill with me, Luke. Today I have a very special guest with me. Mariano is here, so why don't you take it away and introduce yourself, please?
Mariano Mattei. I'm a co-owner of Four Olives Productions based out of Philadelphia in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a long career of doing many things artistic but my main job is in cybersecurity and AI. So
Oh, okay, nice. See, as you can see, I'm speechless because I knew about the first part, the co-owner
right.
of the Four Olives. I didn't
Yeah.
know you're in my field, like IT field as well. So this is interesting. All right.
Yeah,
So
and
for
what's funny,
Tell
like
me.
how many people in our field of either cybersecurity, tech,
Mm-hmm.
AI, how many of them are artistic? So I'm a musician as well, was in a
Mm-hmm.
band for many years, owned a recording studio, music school. So it's amazing how many people I meet that usually have a guitar in the background or something artistic.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
it's how the mind is wired or something, but yeah.
I cannot claim to be a musician. Well, to be fair, I'm not a musician. So yeah, that's I can be described as many things. A musician is not one of them. But I love movies, I love art, and all that. That's why I have the podcast.
Yeah,
So first of all, you're co-owner of a production company for Olives.
Four Olives
Tell
production.
Yeah, so tell me, what does this actually entail? Because obviously, for me, producer, a person who puts up the money and movie gets made. But
Yeah,
obviously, there's much more to that. So, in
there's
your,
much to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so in your view, well, as a person who actually does that, what's the most challenging part, or what's the most unexpected part of that profession, where many people like myself wouldn't have known, oh, there's a challenge like this, because obviously we've never done it.
Yeah, I can tell you, we got into this about 6 years ago.
Hmm.
So my business partner, Fabian Farina, we're childhood friends. So we grew up. He went into the army for 6 years, and we got to be really close.
Hmm.
Um, Actually writing letters back and forth. And so when he got out of the army, he actually joined my band as the drummer. Never having played drums before, I literally laughed at him when he suggested it. But
Nice.
then I realized, when Fabian says something, he means it. Like he'll put the work in.
Hmm.
And so we were in a band for many years. And then as we got older, that kind of got tiring and difficult to keep a band together because people get families and they move and jobs and so we've always done something creative together. And he started taking acting classes. He started getting modeling jobs, commercial jobs. And then he wrote his first script.
Hmm.
And he said, I want to make a movie. And again, I laughed at him. And
Hmm.
and
As
then
a good
called
friend.
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
called again the next day to apologize and said, "I'm coming over right now. We're gonna do a table read." I read it. I thought it had legs, and I said, "I'll invest in this. I'll do this with you." And
Hmm.
that's how it started. So we knew nothing, zero, about
Hmm.
how to make it. And that really was, something we discussed. Like what do we know about making movies? Absolutely nothing. But we have a hashtag no wait in our company.
Hmm.
So our first movie called One Night ended up on Amazon Prime. We were very
Hmm.
proud of that. First movie out of the gate, full length feature film. But
Hmm.
that to us was our film school,
Okay.
right? We spent a lot more money than we should have, but we learned a lot of lessons. And
Hmm.
every movie we make, we learn more lessons. And it's not so much what to do right, it's what not to do ever again.
I see.
So we chip away. Think of it as a sculptor, right? The sculptor chips away
Yeah.
at the marble to get to the product, right? So that's really what we're doing. We're getting rid of everything that doesn't make sense, that doesn't lend
Hmm.
itself to the film, and we learn along the way. So I have an IT background, so I built a custom rig. I learned, took classes in how to edit, how to color. Now, I had some experience because of the recording studio,
Hmm.
music videos and things of that sort, multi-camera shoots. So I had some of that experience already, but movies is a completely different animal.
Yeah.
Um, so, I think that the takeaway really is, learn your mistakes early and hard and fast and stop. Don't make the same mistake twice.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I get it. So, okay, let me rephrase that question then. So,
Sure.
you mentioned you learn what not to do. So, what is the like number one lesson you've learned from your experience like, for anybody, for any potential producers, what's the number one thing you never want to do, especially when you're starting out, let's say.
Um, Pick the people you work with very, very carefully.
Reliability. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There, there's a saying, I don't recall who said it, but someone once said in a musical circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can take an artist, you can take an artist that is 70% of what you need, and you
Mm-hmm.
can get them to 100%. So
Yeah.
same thing with actors, you can have an acting coach on set, proper director. You'll get that 70 to that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But as a person, if they're 70%, they'll never get any higher. There's nothing you can do. So you can't control a person's work ethic, reliability,
Mm-hmm.
honesty, integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the wrong person on your project, they can derail you. They
Mm-hmm.
can
Mm-hmm.
tell you. So we're all about trust. We start off trusting everyone, giving everybody 100% benefit of the doubt. But the moment that things go sideways, we cut them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
get rid of bad people quickly because and whether usually in this business you'll start out with people that you know and friends, and
Mm-hmm.
people act differently in different situations,
Yep. Yep.
right? So you can have a best friend in the bar situation, but put them in a love triangle situation, and all of a sudden put them in a situation where money's involved. Oh, you're going to see
Yep.
a different side of that person, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest lesson for us. We're blessed right now. We've got a crew that we've made several films with,
Mm-hmm.
and we just all work so well together. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not without criticism too. We've had incidences where we have almost gone over time. We've rushed it. We've had to do a reshoot because the entire day was scrapped.
Mm-hmm.
And we take lessons. Fabian and I go take it back and we say, what did we do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What do we not do again? And what do we expect them not to do again? So we have these open and honest conversations, professional
Yeah.
conversations with each other to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that we're all happy because we love, as if you make movies, you love to make movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a craving, like an artistic craving that you have
Mm-hmm.
to consume in order to feel good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we want it to be fun, as fun as possible, and it's not always fun.
Mm-hmm.
A lot is grueling, and art is meant to somewhat be painful, I think, because that's how you grow.
Yeah.
Uh, but we want it to be fun, and we want the best possible product that we can do given our budget, time frame, and skill set.
Mm-hmm. No,
Right?
I totally understand. Obviously it's not the same, but to your point, pick the best people and people you trust, right? And like, put them in this situation. The people behave differently than in this situation. As a person as a student, I've shared a lot of flats with a lot of different people, or apartments, as Americans would say.
Mm.
I found out very quickly that this person A, might be your best friend
Mm.
outside, but the moment they become your roommate or flatmate, oh, that's a totally different ball game. And you can
Oh,
either harden that relationship, meaning like you're gonna be like very tight for the rest of your life,
mm.
or it falls apart very quickly because suddenly you notice, oh, they do this. Oh, they're not really taking care of this part of their agreement. And
Right.
again, a different animal, but the same kind of example where people behave one way. It can be the
Yeah.
best person in this situation, but put them in a different situation. That's when you know the person, and it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and you're right. You can actually come out of a situation like that and be actually closer, right? But
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
have to find a way, excuse me, to work through those newfound differences.
Yeah.
But when you're on a project, it's really rather difficult. We've
Hmm.
had what we call hostage situations, where someone says, I am the night before a very long and important shoot says, I'm not coming out unless you pay me this much more money.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? What do? You have 20 people scheduled, you're paying 20 people, and now
Yep.
you've got one person who wants to squeeze you, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's happened. So things like that. You really have to. It's lessons learned along the way. You know.
No, I get you. Yeah, I totally hear you. But okay, so like I want to touch on this. You're in IT and specifically cyber. You mentioned cybersecurity and AI.
Yeah. So I started my career as a software engineer.
Okay.
I did software development for a very long time.
Ooh.
And then somewhere along the way, I became a global manager of the SWAT team, which was a group of highly skilled people, code aware around the world that can fly in and fix a problem when no one else could. So high
Mm.
stakes, high pressure.
Mm-hmm.
From that, I got really good at reading the wire through Wireshark and learning how the network works. That's where we found a lot of the problems, and a lot of those problems were
Mm.
malicious.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the light bulb went off. This is probably before cybersecurity really had even the term out.
Yeah.
This is the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I went full steam ahead towards cybersecurity. I never let go of my software development. I still innovate. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, when generative AI hit the market, I was like, this is the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I shifted towards that as well. And it's big in cybersecurity, as you may or may not know, because there are large language models that are open, that will help you
Yep.
do nefarious things, and cyber criminals are fully making use of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
we need to counterbalance that. So is a cat and mouse game in cybersecurity. But I love the challenge. So that's why
Yeah.
it's a great time to be in that field in today's world, especially with AI coming out the way that it is. I mean, it's every week it's something new. So
I was gonna say, yeah, yeah, every week, like I would even say every day seems like there's something
it's
new.
almost right. Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
like
Crazy
specifically with
advancement.
AI. Oh, sorry, on you go.
No, no, you were saying specifically in AI, it's true. It's almost every other day you're hearing some
Mm-hmm.
really phenomenal breakthrough or advancement, and it's just the faster it goes, the faster it goes.
Mm-hmm. See, as a person who's not in cybersecurity,
Mm,
but I am in a general, well, it used to be general IT, now it's a bit more specified IT, but it's
no.
not nowhere near like software development or anything like that. I see AI as a bit of a, okay, I need to word myself carefully here. I don't think it's gonna be .com bubble, but I think it's slightly overhyped as far as what it can do right now. And obviously, because first things first, it's not really AI, is it? It's machine learning. Most of the things we call AI, it's still machine learning, to my understanding, right? So it's not really
Right.
AI. So, and I think, like as you said, that's the future, and many companies, like many of the biggest companies ever are betting on it as a future. You cannot have a phone without AI. You cannot have a fucking printer without AI. And it's like, but is that for a general audience? Is that a big thing as the companies believe that to be? I don't think so, because I don't know, like again, this might be just my thinking,
Mm,
but from my circle of friends, we're not bothered by AI one way or another. Like, like, yeah, you see, oh yeah, let's generate this prompt and see what generates, and then you try it 2 times, and you're like, okay, I've tried it, it's done. And I know some people use it for work, like, oh yeah, sum up this article, write me this paragraph, whatever. Yeah, cool. But like, if you actually try to do it anything more, and as many people, like Facebook is gonna try to write more of their code with AI, and I'm like, but it's not gonna happen. I've seen the code. Like, even me as a non-developing person, I know what the code produces. It's mostly messy. Like, it can, like, if you do like certain snippets, it works fine. But a human still needs to be in charge, because like, it's not, again, it's not
right.
artificial intelligence. It's machine learning. So
Yeah.
it gives you an answer, and you need to correct it, or you need to say, yeah, that's correct, and that's how it learns. So what's your take on it? Obviously, you're the professional in that area. So what is your take on it? And tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, a little bit of both, honestly. I
Hmm.
agree that there is a lot of hype surrounding it. There's a lot of excitement.
Hmm.
There's a lot of money being put into it.
Hmm.
For the average consumer, especially if you're simply talking about ChatGPT,
Hmm.
uh, you try it a few times, you may or may not be impressed with the results, but
Hmm.
that's not really the power of it. The power of it is agentic AI. So when you
Okay.
can make use of an LLM to do very targeted, specific tasks surrounded
Mm-hmm.
by good code, uh, it becomes a game changer. So I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I have a book coming out on cybersecurity metrics with Manning Publishing,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to start promoting the book. I had written an agent that would go out, pick out 20 articles on specific topics. I would pick an article. It would then summarize that article, give me a link, give me the hashtags, and write a draft post on LinkedIn for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I said, well, let me make that a little bit smarter. Let me take the top 20 articles, have AI read every one of them,
Mm-hmm.
find out, score it, which article is the most relevant to cybersecurity metrics, whether they mention metrics or metrics could have helped in the article or situation or somehow. Then it will give me the metrics. It will create the post, give me the hashtags, post it as a draft on LinkedIn. So now I can set it up to run every day, 2 times a day, once
Mm-hmm.
a day, or
Mm-hmm.
just run it manually, which I've been doing because I'm still in the testing phase. But it does a phenomenal job. Now think about how much time that saved me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to read 20 articles a day. I mean, it does it for me. And then all I have to do is approve or post or not post.
No, but that's what I'm
So
saying. Like that's so that's kind of my
yeah,
point though. Like, so it can like definitely help us out. Have definitely AI and those kind of tools help us out 100%. My point
yeah.
was the all the hype about, in 10 years there's not gonna be any need for software developers because AI will be writing its own code. And I'm like, I don't think like,
You need a you're
it
still a
might
human.
like I look I think it might happen in like let's say 50 years or 30 years. I don't think we're
Yeah.
nearly nowhere near there that future. It's same way as like
We're
self-driving
not. And
cars.
if you
Mhm.
yeah, same.
And
We're not there
self-driving car,
yet.
and I'm actually in that industry in tiny bit. Like I work for a company that's trying
Uh-huh.
to be the front runner for put in an infrastructure for self-driving cars. So I know how
Right.
far away removed we are actually from any proper
Yeah.
commercial self-driving cars. There are obviously tests being done and all that. It's getting improved. 100%, yes.
Call me old school,
Commercial.
but I won't put a full auto driving car on. I have to be in control of that vehicle.
And see, and many people still have that fear of AI. Many people still will like, oh, I don't know how to use this. No, no, no. You know what? I'll just do it myself, right? And I feel like that's gonna be the like not the decider, but I think many people will still be skewed one way or another. And I cannot see how it's gonna generate its own code and effectively write itself. I don't see the Skynet the kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? The self-realization. I think it will eventually happen, but I don't think we are anywhere near close. Like as some big tech companies are trying to convince us, oh guys, we're almost there. I don't think we are.
I've tested quite a few of the now. Obviously, I'm not using the greatest equipment, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I've got
Hmm.
a pretty beefy system at home, and I can run it locally, or I can make use of OpenAI's API.
Hmm.
And I've tried some of the coding agents. They're very helpful. If
Yep.
you're a software engineer, they're very helpful. Helpful at debugging, helpful writing tests, helpful
Hmm.
fixing errors, writing functions, things like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
But all of the ones that I've tried to do something fairly complex, not the snake game in Python, I mean, it does
Yep.
not do a good job.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's like trying to code with 10-second Tom, right? From 50 First Dates because it forgets and then it changes the code. And it's like, how many times do I have to tell you to stop changing the code? Just fix this
Hmm.
one issue.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it could be for me, because I code on my own, it's a time saver because now I feel like I've got a couple of developers that can help me write something very quickly, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But you have to be very precise in what you're asking it to do. You
And
can't
that's the
say
thing,
just
right?
here's
You have the
here's the
brain.
product description, do it. Yeah,
Yes.
you need a developer right now
Yep.
without a doubt. So
And I think
will
that's
it
that's what I'm
replace?
that's my point, right? Like to people like you who have the experience, who have the knowledge, right?
Right,
Yes,
right.
100%. I can imagine for you guys when you know what exactly, oh, write me this snippet or so the code does this
Yeah.
using this, whatever. I can see that
Right.
being like saves you a lot of time, 100%. But for a beginner like
Yeah.
me,
It's a tool. It's
yeah,
a
and
tool.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's a tool. So like that's what and that was my point. I don't see this tool being in charge of itself and A
No.
working well and B like that's not
Yeah.
gonna happen anytime soon. Like and I think
Yeah.
from
Maybe,
the
like you said, maybe
ads,
someday.
no, someday, look, someday,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Skynet will be Skynet will become a
It's
reality.
yeah.
If Terminator taught us anything, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but
Sooner or later.
yes, no, but that's a good. I think it was a good discussion because like obviously you know much more about it than I do, so I kind
Yeah.
of confirmed that obviously there's much more about this I don't know, and yet those ads I'm seeing and the big claims from like a very giant like Google, Facebook,
Hmm.
Meta, all those
Hmm.
claims like, oh, we're gonna fire all these people, and because we have AI now that can do a reasonable enough job, I think they will end up regretting those decisions at some point.
I'm with you. I was just going to say the people that are doing that for a to replace them with AI are going to be
Hmm.
looking at hiring people back
Yep, yep, yep.
because they're going to realize that they actually do need a human being that knows what they're doing to help out. Yeah.
Correct. So
Yeah.
you mentioned you're based in Philadelphia,
Yes.
correct? All right. So
Born and raised in South Philadelphia. Yeah.
in West Philadelphia, born and raised. Yes. Nice. So, if I were to ask you, hey, I'm coming there for a week, what would you recommend me to see? Where would we go to eat? Like, what's like, give me an example of like, a nice 1 week holiday for somebody who's never been to Philadelphia.
I mean, there's a lot of touristy things that you can do
Hmm.
because, it's the original birthplace of America, I guess, and they have the Liberty Bell and
Yep.
the Constitution Center. There's a lot of things. I think that Philly is really, really good with their restaurants. I
Hmm.
think we've got some phenomenal restaurants. I don't think we're nowhere near the nightlife of New York City.
Hmm.
We actually do go to sleep, so
Ah,
the
yeah.
city will shut down at some point. But there's some phenomenal restaurants,
Hmm.
and I would say pick out a couple of the top restaurants in Philly and hit those if you're a foodie, like
Hmm.
I am. I cook as well, so
Of course.
um, I would do that. I would spend more time eating than I would sightseeing.
To be fair, kind of same because I love food as well, especially different kind of food. So I'm always up for trying something new.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you have any, let's say, recommendation on a specific cuisine that you believe, nobody does it better than, like, my fellow Philadelphians?
Yeah, I think that I have, well, restaurants change very often.
Hmm.
So right now for pasta, there is a Mark Vetri restaurant called Fiorella,
Mm,
which is life-changing pasta in my opinion, like just
nice.
really next level pasta. And I
Okay.
make pasta. Like I am I was on the Food Network. I was on
Hmm.
Cooks versus Cons. I mean, I cook. I have huge parties. I cook for hundreds of people. Like I just love to cook and I
Okay.
love food.
Hmm.
Uh, but this pasta, once I was done the meal, I was considering never making pasta again. I mean, that's how
Life
good
changing.
it was, life changing.
All right.
For pizza, I'm partial to, Napolitan style pizza.
Hmm. Hmm.
And, pizzas, there's lots of different styles of pizzas, but there's a great, very rustic, I would call it American style pizza on Ninth Street called Angelo's, which is really good. But
Okay.
for my money, there's a place called Nomad Pizza,
Mm.
which is kind of more of what you would get in Italy, like the little personal sized
Yeah.
pizzas. Um, I mean, just phenomenal wood-fired brick oven.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I've had a pizzeria as well, so that's what I'm partial to, the wood-fired brick oven pizzas. So,
Nice.
yeah, I've done a lot. I've done a lot. So those are some of the things that come to mind. Um, I mean, there's tons of places, tons of restaurants in Philly. There's some really good Greek restaurants. There are great burger joints. I used to go like once a month to try out the top burger places in Philly to see which one I liked the best.
Hmm.
But start putting on too much weight doing that. So,
Yeah, tell me about it. It's a curse. Yes.
and the older you get, the worse it gets. I can't eat the way that I used to.
Mm, that's the worst, isn't it? Like,
It
like
is
you foodie,
horrible.
you're young, and it's like, oh yeah,
Yes.
it's fine. I can eat whatever I want. Well,
Right.
it never was me, to be perfectly clear, never was me. I've always struggled with my weight. But I
Yeah.
know some people, and I hate them, that they can eat anything they want, and they never seem to gain a single gram of or pound.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then even then they hit certain age, like, oh shit, yeah, now I need to actually watch what I eat. And I'm like, welcome to my world. Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah. Yeah, when I was
no,
younger, I couldn't gain weight to save my life, and now, now it's I have to be very picky about what I eat because, I'll just blow up. So, and
as a
different roles
person.
because I do
Mhm,
star in some of the films, so my
mhm,
character has to be of a certain weight. So, like right now, I'm kind of shredding down to get
mm.
back into shape for a role that's coming up in about 6 to 8 months.
Oh,
So, yeah.
okay. Anything we can talk about? What's the role?
We can. It's we're finishing up right now to get back onto the film
Hmm.
topic. But we have so our first film was One Night,
Hmm.
and we decided it was a drama. And again, not knowing what we're doing, they said, well, dramas are very difficult because everybody wants some famous actor, a famous director, or something to really,
Yeah.
especially for Netflix, which is one of my controversial topics we talk about later.
Okay.
They won't even consider you,
Hmm.
unless you've got somebody famous attached to the film. And so we thought, okay, well, what's a wider audience demographic? What movie would do better? And they
Hmm.
said, well, if you do an action film,
Yep.
action films can sell globally, and you don't necessarily need a famous actor. And we're like, okay, we're going to do an action film. And Fabian had a short that we did called The Hitman.
Hmm.
And from all of the questions that we got, we put it into festivals. We won a bunch of awards, and everybody was asking him questions about the character, of which, of course, he had no answers. But all of the questions started kind of filling in his brain. So he wrote the first script for Sacrum Vindicte, which
Hmm.
is Latin for sacred revenge. And that was our second film. So Sacrum Vindicte, that became a trilogy. We have Sacrum Vindicte 1 and Sacrum Vindicte 2, which was just released in December
Hmm. Hmm.
of 2024 on Amazon, Tubi, all the streaming services. And then we just finished shooting all of the days except for one makeup day for SV3, we call it, which
Hmm.
is the final chapter in the series.
Okay.
So it'll take 4 to 6 months of editing and so forth. But we work very efficiently. So as we're filming over the last 2 months, I would take that footage and I would start rough cutting it. So
Hmm.
not we they call it dailies in the business. We do more like weeklies because I have to wait for the drive.
Yeah.
But so by the time we're done, I only have 2 or 3 more scenes to cut, and we have a rough cut of the entire film.
Hmm.
So we'll go and watch it 1,000 times and get it to where the best that we can get it before we release that. But the next project we already started working on, that's a horror film.
Mm.
I would say horror slash thriller called Evelyn. It has some AI topics and elements in there, so it'll be
Uh-huh.
really. It's one of the ones that I wrote. Sacrum Vindicte was written by Fabian. So is One Night. So this will be the first film that I wrote. But we work collaboratively on all the projects. So
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm. And
and
you're
we'll
gonna
start
be the main
that.
star of that movie, of Evelyn.
So there is a tradition.
Uh-huh.
There's a tradition. So when Fabian first got into acting, he calls me up. He's like, Mar, we're shooting. Somebody didn't show up on set. Can you play a dead guy? I'm like, that's what I do. I'm the
Hmm.
best in the business at playing a dead guy.
Hmm.
So it became a joke about me being this dead person in all of these films. And I was a dead person here, a dead person there. And
Hmm.
then when Fabe started writing his films, in each film, he kills me. Somehow I die or I'm killed,
Hmm.
right? So it became a joke. So now we're trying to keep that tradition.
Ah.
So in this film, I actually play the bad guy, if you will, and Fabian plays, well, there is no really good or bad guy because it's complex, but Fabian plays the good guy, quote unquote,
Yep.
who ends up killing me in the end. But
Wait,
we're
isn't it a
neither one of us,
spoiler? Isn't it a spoiler?
neither one of us is the star of that film. The
I
star is
see.
Evelyn, is the
Oh, I
child, is the
see.
child. So we're just
Hmm.
characters in the film.
Fair. Okay.
So
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right. So
There's
now you're getting
plenty
you
of
get.
twists. There's plenty of twists and turns in our film, so that one's going to be
Mm-hmm,
a good one.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So no, that sounds good. So now you're getting to shape and like shred it, so you can be proper
trying to.
quote unquote
Yeah.
bad guy.
Right. I need to look menacing, so
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
dye all of this. I may keep it because I think
Mm-hmm.
that he's going to have a beard. In my mind, the character has a beard.
Ah,
So yeah. So
okay. That's gonna be that's gonna be fascinating. Looking forward to that.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it's going to be fun.
I think with that we can move to the this or that part, where I'll give you two choices, and you'll tell me which one would you prefer and why.
All right, go for it.
So, Mariano, iOS or Android? Yeah.
I'm going to go with iOS.
Ooh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
why?
I'm a big Mac uh proponent for a long time. We use it in the studio. I use it at
Mm-hmm.
work. I prefer it as a development platform over Windows. Linux is great.
Mm-hmm.
However, that 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 openness comes with some caveats and some things that you need to be careful of. So in my opinion, it's much easier for someone to crack into your Android phone than it would be to crack onto an iOS phone.
Interesting. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Fascinating. Because yeah, like especially IT people are very split on this.
Very.
So that's why that's why I'm like, all right.
But I
Okay.
don't judge anyone. So if
No, of course.
your message comes up blue or I could care less, doesn't matter to me.
Well, now
It
that
matters
should be
to
gone.
the internet.
Now that should be gone because like Google,
That's
that was
true,
one of
right?
the latest updates. They've
Yeah.
allowed the what's the message type called that wasn't supported for the longest time.
I think it was like I forget, but Apple had its own proprietary message format.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
RTF
I forget.
something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but yeah, that
What it
should be
was.
gone now. So yes.
It's
uh,
funny. Like it takes something so simple to
yep.
divide people, and then you're on one side or you're on the other side, and it's just so controversial. And
And then you're
you know,
being judged for not having
memes.
Apple. Like, oh, that message is green.
Yes,
No. He, why is this person poor? Like, why
yeah,
can't
it's
they
hysterical.
have iPhone?
Yeah,
Honestly.
yeah.
No, yeah. Tea or coffee?
Coffee,
All right. How do you take your coffee?
black,
Nice and simple.
good
Nice and simple.
espresso if I can.
Hmm.
But otherwise, just yeah. And there's no sweeteners. Again, watching my weight, no cream, lactose intolerant.
I see. I see. Fair.
So, and plus, I do enjoy the taste of a good coffee. So,
Same. Same. I do totally understand you. Money or free time?
hmm, if yeah, free time without a doubt, because, and I don't say, free time has sort of a definition,
Hmm.
right? But
Hmm.
time over money, time.
Sensible. Well, I like
If
it.
someone said you could live for guaranteed another 20 years, or I'll give you, $2 million, I'll take that 20 years.
To
Second.
be fair, that would be nice. Like guaranteed, at least. Yeah.
Guaranteed, right? Yeah. So,
Hmm.
yeah, time for sure.
Unless it's some sort of like a monkey paw deal where it's like, oh, I'll guarantee you 20 years, and then the
Yeah.
next day you're gonna go into a coma. So
Yeah,
technically
or a
you're
coma.
alive for 20
Yeah.
years, but you're in a
Yeah.
coma.
That's like the infamous genie, right? Like, be
Yeah,
careful what you wish for. Yeah.
correct. The monkey paw will always get you. But
Yeah.
careful about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Honesty or other people's feelings.
I am brutally honest.
Okay.
Prefer brutal honesty.
Hmm.
And when I say brutal honesty, I don't mean cruel,
Hmm.
and I don't mean unsolicited opinion.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I
But
do.
if you're my friend and I really think you're taking a turn down the wrong road, I'm not going to mince words. And I do this
Hmm.
with my children. And people say, "Oh, I can't believe you said it like that." And I'm like, "Well, there's no other way for me to say it."
Hmm.
If my daughter asks me my opinion about a guy that she's seeing, I don't offer it unsolicited. I don't meddle in her affairs. But if she asks me,
Yep.
she's going to get a very brutally honest response. And I think that I prefer that. Growing up in an Italian household, it's very common that we're very sarcastic and harsh and just, it's brutal. Growing up in an Italian household. But I prefer that. I prefer that with my friends as well.
I think we're on a very same page, like exactly like you. If I consider you a friend and you ask me a direct question, you will get a direct answer.
Yeah.
And But hey, if I don't know you, again, as you said, I'm not gonna meddle. I'm just gonna be
No,
like, all right,
right.
you do you. It's just
Yeah,
I've reached that point of my life where like I really choose my battles, quote unquote. It's just like it's not worth
correct.
it.
Yeah, smart. Yeah.
It's not worth it. But yeah.
Because I've met, and you've probably met people like this too, where they say, well, everybody thinks that I'm an asshole or whatever because I'm telling them what I think and I'm just being honest. And I'm
Hmm.
trying to tell them you're not being honest. You're giving them an unsolicited opinion
Hmm.
about something that's none of your business and no one asked you.
Yes.
That's not being honest, right?
Hmm.
That's pretty much the definition of being an asshole. Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And a lot of times it's very easy to judge a person without truly knowing them or a situation without truly knowing all of the surrounding circumstances.
Hmm.
And so I truly believe in being compassionate and not trying your best not to make those assumptions. And if you really care, give somebody a chance to tell their side of the story because you don't know what the person's going through or how they ended up where they are.
Hmm.
But anyway, honesty for sure.
No, that's totally right. Yeah, I do agree with everything you just said. So yeah, on the same page.
Yeah.
Uh, Probably the most important question of all:
Uh,
ninjas or pirates?
Name what?
Ninjas or pirates?
Oh, good one. I'm gonna go with ninja.
Okay, why?
Go with ninja. Now, pirates, in my opinion, have much more character, at least how they're portrayed in the movies.
Hmm.
And it's funny how I think it was the first person to play a pirate
Hmm.
came up with what we now consider to be that pirate voice, right?
Aha.
Pirates, real pirates, never really spoke like that. It was a
Hmm.
character. And now
Okay.
every pirate since has that they have that type of talk.
Yeah,
If you
like
YouTube
affliction.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
right? However, real pirates, real pirates, I think were much worse than they're portrayed in the movies, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's like pirates are great characters in film, but in reality, not
They're
so
not great
much.
people. Not great people. No.
Correct, not great people.
Hmm.
But you take ninjas, and I feel like at least in the circle of assassins, there was a code.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe there was one for pirates, I don't know. But I feel like ninjas at least had a code.
Hmm.
And I prefer, if you're going to be a bad person, to have a code than no code, right? So if you're going to be an assassin, I would rather an assassin with a code than an assassin with no code.
I do like how you went with if you're gonna be a bad person, like both of
Right?
them are bad, but
Yeah.
one of them has a code. I've never thought about it like that.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah.
I like. Okay, I'll think about it for a minute. And the last question: free will or destiny?
I'm gonna split it down the middle.
Of course.
And I'm going to
Yep.
say that we all have some power in creating our own destiny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much a firm believer in manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, life sucks and life will toss you some things that will knock you on your ass,
Mm-hmm.
and or just straight up kill you. So, you just never know. But to a certain extent, I believe that if you have a positive view and you manifest I think thoughts are things. I think that thought has energy, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so if you have your thoughts in check
Mm-hmm.
in a positive light, I think that it can change your reality.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a bit of both because you can say, well, destiny, I want to do this by the time I'm 30, and then you're dead at 25,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? That wasn't free will, had nothing to do with that, pretty much destiny, I guess. But if you live, that free will can create the destiny that you want if you stay positive and focused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so, there's a lot more to it, like, making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people and
Mm-hmm.
not getting into things that you shouldn't get into and things of that sort. So I'll split it down the middle for you.
To be fair, this question, most people have that kind of answer, like like
Ah,
kind of
okay,
like in
good.
the middle. So like
Yeah, yeah.
rarely, rarely somebody is just like one way or the other
Yeah,
exclusively. It's mostly like someplace in the middle.
good.
Interesting. And you've hinted at your controversial opinion something to do with Netflix, so let's hear it.
Yeah, so let's talk about Netflix. So
Okay.
I'm a filmmaker, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they say, well, we can't, they won't even look at it. Our distributor said we can't, they won't even see it. Like
Hmm.
it's not unless there's someone quote unquote well-known or famous
Yep.
and not, could be a B-list actor, but it has to be readily recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, you need money. And right now, for the last four films, we've been self-financed, but we just got a PR person, Cindy Mitch,
Mm-hmm.
who's helping us rebuild the brand and get in front of investors because there's money out there. We just don't know how to get it. She's helping us along.
Yeah.
For the next project for Evelyn, we hope to have some funding.
Mm-hmm.
And now I went off the rails and then I forgot what the actual your
So, like,
question.
something with your controversial opinion about
My
Netflix?
ADHD. Oh yeah, Netflix. So
Mm-hmm.
think about the power that Netflix has, right? So they're the top dogs. I mean,
Yes.
getting your film on Netflix would be akin to having a theater release
Mm-hmm.
20 years,
Yes.
right? And so they have all this power.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, there's a formula. They're there to make money. The films that have the names attached, people will watch.
Mm-hmm.
You've done it, I've done it, and we have both sat through horrible, horrible films because a certain actor or director was involved in a project, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
And I feel that Hollywood, if you will, has so much money wasted on poor films just for the sake of doing a film with an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that and I think that it's getting worse. So I've seen some films, and typically I would never walk out on a film or stop playing a film. And there's been some films I'm halfway through it and I just can't take it anymore.
Okay.
It's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got an actor or a director or somebody that I really love in the film, so I wanted to support them and I wanted to be entertained. But it's just horrible, horrible,
Mm-hmm.
horrible writing, cliche after cliche, and it becomes just a rubber stamp, like next film, next film, next film. And I think that it's getting to the point where if Netflix is smart and they have all of this power, I would hope that at some point the light bulb goes off and they say, instead of putting out all of these stars, what if we had a hand in creating the next one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's get a team together and let's curate these independent films.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying take them all on, like don't become a Tubi, right? There's so much out there on Tubi. Uh Tubi has gotten better, I will say. They're getting more selective about what films they put out. But in the beginning, it was just content, 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 right? So there was a lot of trash out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, and I shouldn't say trash because I firmly believe that you have to, as an artist, make really bad products before you start making good products. So, as a songwriter, your first few songs suck.
Yeah.
As a singer, your first few songs, if you play back the way you sang 25 years ago, you'd be horrified, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, art is a journey, and I think that we as artists need to make bad films before we start making good films.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I say trash, I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but they should have been maybe at a film festival, not on a streaming service. They
Mm.
should have gotten some feedback and learned from that feedback from industry veterans
Yeah.
that can help them along the way to make better films. So
Okay.
that being said, Netflix should have a department that curates independent films and maybe puts them at the top of their list, and maybe they have a channel dedicated independent
Mm-hmm.
films.
Mm-hmm.
These are Netflix curated independent films, ones that not necessarily won a Sundance or but that we believe as Netflix as the kings of the market right now on film, that we believe you should give a chance. Now
Yeah.
think about that kind of power,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they
No.
took a film, you
Mm-hmm.
could make a star out of you can help discover the next great actor, director,
Yeah.
editor, colorist. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
with great power comes great responsibility, right? So I think that Netflix should step up.
I
That's
really like that. I really like that. And I think we are on a similar page because I've in a same way, but I go about it differently.
Hmm.
I've said for a number of years now, we should, or not we. I talk about myself like as if I'm part of Hollywood. I'm not, but Hollywood should stop making 200, 300 plus million movies, right? And instead of that, give us 30, $10 million movies. And that's, like a studio, like that's why I love A24. That's why I love like even like there's a streaming service called Mubi that's trying to do something like this, and I
Mm,
really like that. Where again, give it to people who care. Give it to people who, hey, I have this idea. I have this team. Like as you said, mostly no-name people or like young up-and-comers, for example. And hey, we just need, let's say, $2 million, or we might need $3 or $5 million, but it's not gonna be that, And they might not go do gangbusters, but hey, that's how many people in the 80s, 90s got discovered doing these indie movies. And like, hey, this
yeah,
actor is quite good. Let's cast him. This Leonardo
right,
DiCaprio. He's quite good. Like, or
right.
just doing these like tinier movies. Like Johnny Depp that's why he was so big, because he was the indie darling. That
Mm,
it wasn't until very really Pirates of the Caribbean he became a
right,
mega star. Like he
right.
already had the street cred, quote unquote, doing these like indie quirky
Very
dramas like
crazy,
80s.
quirky.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, throughout like in most of the 90s. So like he was considered a great actor, but he
yeah.
wasn't bankable by any means until Pirates hit and
Pirates of the
catapulted
Caribbean.
him to the like mega stardom, right?
And isn't that
And
funny? Because he wasn't even one of the main stars of the first one. It was supposed to be
Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom. Yep.
correct. And
Yep.
he kind of stole the show, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So so you
No,
never
but I
know.
do agree with exactly. But I do agree with that. I do agree with that. As like for example, the newest big budget Electric State movie. I haven't seen, but apparently it's horrible. And Netflix was supposed to spend like close to $300 million on that movie. And from by all accounts, I haven't seen it. I do want to watch it, but it's gonna
Arcane?
be
Is it
by
Arcane you're talking about?
no, no, no. It's
Oh,
a movie called Electric State.
no, I haven't heard
From
of it.
Russo's, it's from
Oh,
Russo
really?
brothers, Millie
Huh.
Bobby
I'm
Brown.
writing it down. Let's see. I'm
Yep.
gonna put my
And they support, and again, this like costed
okay.
apparently around 2 to 300 million to Netflix.
Think about that amount of money. And that
And
and to us as independent filmmakers, that's an insane amount of money.
it's not even that, but like apparently, again, I cannot speak, like I haven't seen it yet, just because
Yeah.
I hear awful things about it, like genuinely
Really?
awful things.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
nobody seems to like it, and it's like one of those like, oh, okay, Netflix, why? What are you doing? It seems like they're
Yeah.
trying to slap, like as you say, trying to slap this big actor, this big actor, this big
Right.
actor, and
Right.
these two big directors that did Endgame and Infinity War, and
Yeah.
hopefully people will click on it.
They
Well,
will. And they
yeah,
will.
yeah,
And that's for Netflix, that's their formula. So and
yeah.
it's paying off because they're the big boys on the block. So
No, but like, I do like your idea that how there should be like a separate, almost like a separate, not even a company, but separate, like Netflix indie, like indie
yeah,
Netflix,
exactly. Or just
indie
a channel
flicks.
dedicated to indie flicks. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
brilliant right there.
And
There you
again,
go.
like, and
Yeah.
and just give up and coming, filmmakers,
Give us a
independent
shot.
filmmakers. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like, quote unquote, no names, up and comers. Like, just, hey, and maybe something's will come out of that. And, you're Netflix, you make your money in these channels, and let the younger people, let the younger artists play in this sandbox. And hey, maybe you will create the next star, like Mikey Madison is now, or Sydney Sweeney or
right,
somebody like that, like Zendaya. Like, why not?
right.
Why
Never
not?
know. They have the power. They could do that.
And
So,
as you said,
huh,
with great power comes great responsibility.
you're so that is correct. I think
Mm-hmm.
that they owe it they owe it to the industry that has given them this fortune, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They owe it to the industry that they've gotten involved with, like these artists. I think that they should start paying it back, and I'm a firm believer in paying it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Mm-hmm.
something good, help people when you can. So
100% agree. No, yeah.
yeah,
100% there with you. Okay, so I think with that, we can move to the flicks part of this podcast where we talk some
yeah.
movies.
Okay,
So
let's see how well I do here.
I'm sure you'll do great. So, Mariano, what is the last new movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything 2020s.
I actually just got chosen to be one of the judges on a Red Rock Film Festival.
Okay.
And I guess they tested me by giving me this one independent film. It was an
Hmm.
independent film. I had to rate it between 1 and 5 stars.
Okay.
Um, and it was uh, I think it was called the three. Now I'm going to forget the laws.
Mm,
It was the three something laws. It was in Italian, so I was a bit biased.
of
Um,
course.
but I thought, as an independent film, I thought, what a great story, what great characters, what great actings, what
Hmm.
great, the DP did a great job. The coloring was phenomenal. Not anything wrong with the sound that I can pick up, and I gave that five stars. And then they chose me as a judge. I don't know if it was a test or not, but I thought, being an independent artist and that being an independent film, I thought, wow, they really just did a great job at it. I
Hmm.
want to see if I can find it. Red Rock. So that was the last one that I gave 5 out of 5 stars.
Hmm.
I've seen being watching a lot of movies lately. I haven't really been that impressed with much.
No, that's fair.
I mean, the Matrix is one of my all-time favorites, the first
Hmm.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, because of the story. I mean, I thought it
Hmm.
was a phenomenal story, and Keanu Reeves is,
Hmm.
well known as being a really nice guy. I kind of liked his stuff and the John Wick. I like the action films a lot.
Oh yeah, he
So
seems to be quite nice. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well.
yeah.
Okay. In that case, no, that's fine. So we can move. Well, what is the last quote unquote teen movie you would rate a 5 out of 5? So anything between 2003 and 2019.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't watch the teen movies anymore.
Again, this is just a for name of the category. Any movie between those years. That's just a descriptor of that
Oh,
category.
hmm.
I need to rename it. Many people make that mistake, and I'm
Yeah,
always like
yeah.
clarifying that.
Let's see. I should have been a little bit more prepared. Oh, you know what I really did enjoy? I love the Dune. I love the Dune movies.
Yep, yep.
I and for the visual aesthetics, definitely. What's the other one? What's the other one? The original was with Harrison Ford with the
Oh, Blade
robots.
Runner
Oh, Blade
2049.
Runner. Blade. Yeah. Oh, I just adored. Visually, I could turn the sound off and just look at that film. It was just amazing. Christopher Nolan's a
Double dose
fan.
of Denis Villeneuve. All right.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tenant, I thought was very, very unique.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those are the ones that come to mind. I'm a big Guy Ritchie fan, so anything that he does
Nice.
from a storytelling perspective and characters,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody does it better. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
maybe Quentin Tarantino in terms of dialogue and characters, but I feel like Guy Ritchie knows how to stitch together a story with these characters that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I just love every character in almost every movie that he's done. So
No, yeah, you cannot go wrong with like, especially Quentin. It's like
yeah.
as far as dialogue goes,
Oh,
it's quite sharp. It is sharp.
it really is. It really is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yeah.
So, what would be the last quote unquote adult? Again, we're not looking for that kind of movie. You would rate 5 out of 5. So, anything between 2002 and
Oh, so
1975.
not pornographic
No,
adult
no, no,
when
no.
you say adult
Look,
in
if you want to, you can
America.
give a shout out. You can
I
give
don't
some
know.
shout out to
I
your
don't
favorite ones.
I don't know. I don't know anybody in the adult film industry. Actually, I was big in music for a long time,
Hmm.
and there was a band, I'm going to remember the name, called Wolfpack.
Okay.
And Wolfpack was a very hard rock, very edgy, women, booze, fights. They
Hmm.
were very, very edgy, and I recorded them in my studio, Philly Sound Studios.
Hmm.
But they had Jenna Jameson on their cover.
Of course.
They met her. They met her at a porn convention. They asked her. She took a picture,
Hmm.
and they used that picture with her permission on their album cover.
Nice.
So that's my. I've never seen her film, so can't really say but I know she
Of
for a long
course.
time she was a very big name.
Yes.
Yeah. So adult film. I'm trying to think.
Hmm.
What would be considered an adult film? I
Again,
guess that
like, don't pay
not,
too much attention to the name of the category.
not
Any movie
yeah.
between 2002 and 1975. Like you
Oh,
mentioned The Matrix, for example.
1975. Yeah, The Matrix. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's a great, like, it's hard to argue, especially with the first Matrix.
Yeah, they kind of went off the rails from there, but the first one was really well done.
hmm
Um, here's an interesting topic real quick. We'll go off the rails for a moment.
Sure.
There's this theory in music, right, where we call them overnight successes, and there's no such thing.
Yeah.
But everybody says like the first album that they put out was phenomenal and they were an overnight success, and there's no such thing as an overnight success in music.
hmm
This band has been honing their skills for the last 10, 15, sometimes 20 years,
hmm
and they've gotten rid of all of the horrible songs, and it took them 10 years to write these great songs, and they kept the cream rose to the top, and they picked the ones that were most popular, and then they come out, somebody gives them a chance, they get on a record label, they come out with this album, and almost every song on that album is a smash hit, and you
hmm
think this is the next biggest band ever. They're great, they're phenomenal, every song is great.
hmm
Well, now they have to put out another album in a year because now they're owned by a record company.
Yep.
So try writing that same level of quality of music within a year. You can't. So
hmm
now the next album maybe has one hit, maybe. If you're
hmm
lucky, if you're really talented, maybe two or three. So it's rare, right? So the same thing for me with these movies that have these sequels like The Matrix, right? That
hmm
first one, what did it take them? 10 years? I think the story is, right? They thought of it, they started writing it maybe 10 years ago.
hmm
So they honed that story. And then when they finally got the money and put it out, it was brilliant. But
hmm
now, within 2 years, they have to put out a sequel. You're not going to
And
get the same
two.
quality, right? You're not going to get the same quality of film.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
impossible. So that's what I think happens. And then it just gets less and less until people are like, all right, just stop.
I always say this example with not the Matrix, but it's also a good example. I don't know if you've seen the show True Detective.
Yes,
The first
phenomenal, right?
season,
That
yeah,
first
exactly, the
season.
first season, and and the creator even said like, oh yeah, I've had this idea for a while, I've been working on this for a couple of years, and
Yeah,
then the second season is no, like, it's not bad,
right.
but the quality is just not there. Like it's noticeably different quality. Let's put it that way. And I actually think that season 3 and 4 are great. Actually, like, and they're again nowhere near the level of one. That's almost
Yeah,
like a transcendental TV. It's so great,
right.
but like yeah, like, and I think that kind of shows, yeah, how sometimes great art takes time, and if you have a success, like, it's hard not to say no. Oh yeah, I definitely have a second season in me. Sure, I'll take this money and I'll write something within a year,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it's finding the balance, isn't it? It's just.
Yeah. Now, money runs the world, and I wish it
Mhm,
wasn't so, but it does, and
yep,
I get why they do that. But as a fan,
hmm
as a movie watcher, I would rather wait 2 more years,
hmm
get a phenomenal follow-up film
yep,
of that character, than
that. Mhm,
getting it to see it the very next year. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
But that's why they call it a show business. It is business, first and foremost, unfortunately.
it is,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
And would you have any quote unquote old movies? So anything 1974 and older, you would rate 5 out of 5, like the last movie you've seen?
When was The Godfather made? I mean,
72.
Italian Godfather was, yeah. So
Hmm.
Godfather was at the top of the list.
Again, classic pick. Yeah.
Again, yeah, I mean, if you saw the making of the film, which I found to be really, really interesting, I love the story behind that story.
hmm
I love how it came together. Um,
Well, now there's an entire TV show about it.
yeah, yeah, and if you've seen it, it's really, I'm going to assume that, let's say 80% of it is true.
Hmm
Um, the core concepts of how it was made and the challenges that they faced were true.
hmm
So, I think that's a great story in and of itself, So
No,
that
100%.
another one, I think that a film that really affected me was now the name's going to escape me. Hold on, I'll just look
Hmm
it up real. Platoon.
Oh,
That's
Platoon.
in
Yeah.
the six, but that film again, it affected me. There's certain films like I've gone back into the theater to watch many,
hmm
many times. Scarface is one of them. I mean, I watched that
hmm
maybe 20 times. I don't know. It's like just so
Wow.
well. But Platoon really affected me. because it was so it had a gravitas to it, like that first season of True Detective had,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
it's Oliver Stone is, when he fires on all cylinders,
Oh
it's
yeah.
really good to see. It's
Yeah.
like it's quite hard to catch up with, with somebody like that, like Oliver Stone. If he,
Right.
if he fires on all cylinders, like he is at the very top of like the greatest of all time.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed
and
with
he
you there.
definitely has some of those movies are like pretty much like flawless. I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what would you say is your favorite movie decade?
Hmm. I'm always going to go with the current one.
Okay.
There were there's a lot of things that happened, like I think it was the 70s where they did a lot of ADR, and I
Hmm.
just can't. It's hard for me to sit through it because I'm a sound guy. And
Okay.
so when the dialogue doesn't quite match the lip
Mm,
movement or the facial expression, like it throws me,
yeah.
kind of like the uncanny valley, for robots.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter how good it gets, like it just seems off.
Yes.
So when they were doing that, there were some great films that I have a hard time sitting through because of that
Hmm.
reason. But I'll always go, because I'm just happy to wake up every day and be alive, and I always think that today is the best day.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean? So and I think that especially what we can do with visual effects nowadays, I think can help tell really good stories.
Hmm.
So I think that this right now is the best time.
Sensible.
Um, yeah,
No, I like how you like, I really like how you justified that answer. Because I'm one of those who believes there is not a weak decade per se. Like,
right.
each decade, even if you go back to 30s, like, like 100 years ago, there are
Yeah,
still some great movies, like if
there's some
you've
great
seen them.
movies.
So,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the same with 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, obviously, even now, like we are halfway through this decade, believe it or not.
yeah,
It's
right.
fucking insane. We're halfway through 20s again.
Yeah, you take
And
you take like The Exorcist that was done what, 70s, right?
yeah, yeah.
No, they don't have the effects that we have nowadays, and we still can't make a decent horror film, right? Like,
Even though horror seems to have like a bit of a that, like talking about like indie filmmakers and independent up and comers,
yeah,
horror seems to be the genre where we get a lot of stars and like talent from, like Jenna Ortega. Like she's obviously been acting if ever since she was little, but like it was through the horror, like the extra, and then other movies, and obviously then Wednesday that she blew up,
yeah,
and Scream, like like horror nowadays, like if you know where to look, it's not just quote unquote dumb slasher anymore, and I gravitate more towards horror movies now when I'm good older and not as scared to watch them as I used to be honest.
yeah. What was the last really good horror film that I saw? I did not like Nosferatu at all.
Really? Why?
Didn't like it. I didn't like Longlegs. I thought Heretic was pretty good.
Okay, let's go back a bit. What's your
Yeah.
beef with Nosferatu? Why did you not like it?
Um, I think that was Johnny Depp's daughter in that, I think, right?
Yes, Lily Rose Depp.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I felt that there was a lot of her performance that was overtly sexual, that took away from a
Hmm.
lot of it for me for some reason.
I thought it was purposeful, no, to the
I think it
story.
was purposeful. Yeah, I just didn't. I felt like there should have been. I felt like I wanted to know more about the villain and the reasons. And I guess, if you go back and you watch it a
Hmm.
second time, you can kind of figure those things out.
Hmm.
That she kind of wished it, she was lonely or whatever, and
I
um,
thought like I've only seen it once and I loved
yeah.
it. So,
Oh,
but I
really?
thought, oh no, yeah, I did, and
Yeah,
I thought the reason I loved it, I can speak from my experience. I thought what Eggers did, Robert Eggers. I thought he brilliantly kind of flipped the switch in a sense where she is, in a movie called Nosferatu, she is the main protagonist, Lily Rose Depp,
yeah,
her character,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
really like a, excuse me, oh, excuse me, and it's really about abusive relationship and how she realizes throughout the movie that she is actually in one, like
Oh, that's
trapped, and
interesting.
like towards the end she takes that power away from him. The
Huh.
and like whether it means she needs to die or not, that ultimately that's where it ends. And
Right,
just
right.
to kind of, and I really thought that's fascinating thing how to do this kind of genre in today's day and age. Plus the
Yeah.
camera work, the camera work there like was spectacular. Like when it was nominated for Oscar, I'm a happy Brutalist won.
Huh.
But if there was, if I was, if Nosferatu won, I would also be happy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I had to walk out of it the first time because
Oh.
my daughter was actually triggered by the by some of the scenes in there, and she couldn't sit through it, so I had to take her out. So
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I went back and saw it on my own.
Mm.
Yeah, so I just I guess I didn't quite get it.
No, no, no.
Um,
But look, it's art. Like
yeah,
I'm
exactly,
gonna say
yeah,
the most generic thing everybody's always saying. Art is
yeah,
subjective. So if it didn't work for you, it's fine. Like
correct,
I'm not gonna.
right.
I'm. Not,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
saying.
No, I
I'm
agree.
not saying I'm the. I'm the correct one. No. Like it doesn't work for you. It works for me, and we can
Yeah,
talk about why. And it always, to me, it's more about not about me being right or wrong. It's more about why it worked for me and why it didn't, or why it not work for you, and we can talk about the
right.
specific
And
because
what's
it's.
interesting, having heard your reasons why you like it,
Mhm.
it's my mind thinking like, oh, I missed all of that, right? So now I have a different appreciation for it
Oh,
by
many
hearing
times it happens to
right.
me.
Yeah,
Many times, like I'm like, oh, this movie was weird, and then I talk to somebody about that movie, and like, well, have you thought about it like in about this movie in this vein? And I'm like,
right.
oh shit,
Yeah, you see it from
yeah,
a now I see it from a different perspective, and I'm like, huh,
correct,
makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. Now
yes,
I have a different appreciation for it, right? And the choices that
100%,
are made. So it's really interesting. The movies,
100%.
movies are an open topic.
No, 100. That's why I love to discuss them because yeah, like
Yeah,
we all come from different backgrounds. We all come
right,
from different points of view, and at the end of the day, that's what we should embrace, and not be
yeah.
like, no, I'm right, and you're wrong, and just
No,
and I hate you if you don't think like me. No, it's like
no,
that's
these are
boring.
perspective. Yeah,
Yeah,
perspective.
that's boring to me.
I
Nah.
think I found the movie. It's called Talk to Me. I really,
Oh,
I
I
really,
still I still haven't seen that one, but I heard very good
you should
things
see
about
it.
it. Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
know,
thought that was
I know.
really well done.
I've heard very good things about it, so I'm keen on seeing it, and I think it's on Netflix currently now, at least in
I
the
think so.
UK.
Yeah, I think it's on Netflix. Yeah,
So yeah, no, it's on my queue, but yeah, like the queue is long, so
yeah.
you
I
know how
know.
it
I wish I
is.
could
Like
get around to half the movies that I should be watching. Yeah.
correct. So I think with this we can move to the underrated section where I'll ask you,
Uh,
Mariano, who do you think is the most underrated actor we have right now?
when you first sent this out to me, I thought of this, and I honestly I didn't even remember his name,
Hmm.
but I've seen him in many films,
Hmm.
and most recently I saw him. He played one of the characters in what's the series? Peaky Blinders,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
I love that series.
Hmm.
Stephen Graham. And now he's much more famous now because of Adolescence, which I haven't seen, but it's just blowing up all over Netflix and everybody's talking about it. But I
Hmm.
always thought in all the movies that I saw him in, I always felt like he had really, really good acting chops.
Oh, he is. He is
Um,
phenomenal.
and I just did, like I said, like I don't remember his name. I would see him in films, and it's like that guy,
Hmm. Hmm.
and so I'm happy that he's getting notoriety now later in life. But he to me he's got a very we call it pesante in Italian. He's heavy, he
Yeah.
has a heavy presence in his characters. Um, very much along the lines of like Tom Hardy, like he
Hmm.
can bring that intensity.
Yeah.
Um, so I felt he was underrated, but maybe not so much now.
No, no, no. I genuinely. So Stephen Graham, like I've noticed him for the very first time, properly taken notice of him in Boardwalk Empire, the
Oh
TV
yeah,
show,
yes,
and ever since then, you exactly as you say, he pops up in so many movies and TV shows. Like, oh, that's this guy. That
yeah,
this guy,
yeah,
and he's always like I would classify him as a character actor. Like you've
yes.
seen him in many things, and he's always excellent.
He's
Like if you
always
haven't
excellent.
seen a movie, there's a movie called Boiling Point. It's
No,
all shot in one take, one continuous take throughout one obviously night. it's hour and a half movie. Have
Wow.
they shot it in just like 3 days before the UK shut down because of
Oh,
COVID-19. So they literally shot it in one night, like 3 nights before that.
wow.
And they shot the entire movie 4 times, and they used the third take because yeah, the movie is hour and a half, one unbroken take. There's no cheating, there's nothing,
Yeah,
and
that's how he did Adolescence,
yeah,
the series.
it's
Yeah,
the
all
same
one take.
director.
Yeah,
It is the
yeah,
same director,
yeah.
so that's why I'm mentioning it. And Stephen Graham, is also the main star of the Boiling Point, and not the TV show Boiling Point, because there's a TV show now.
Ah,
He's not
okay.
there. He is not there. He is in a movie from 2021. If you haven't seen it, strong recommend.
I wrote
Very
it
good.
down. You've gotten two movies on my list now.
Nice. So, okay, so Stephen Graham, excellent choice, love it. What
Yeah, yeah.
about some actress? Who do you think is the most underrated actress we have right now?
Ooh, actress. Um, I'll tell you what.
Hmm.
Give me a second because my mind sometimes
That's
takes a
all right.
moment in the gear.
Hmm. I know that quite well.
Yeah. What is the name of that movie? Let me see. No, I'm going blank. It'll
Let's
come to me.
let's
It'll come to me. I'll come back to it.
describe the movie. Describe the movie. Let's play a game. Describe the movie. I know quite
All
a
right,
lot of
let's do
movies.
that.
What's the movie you're thinking?
I can't remember the name, so
Okay,
it's
what
got
is
to.
the movie about?
Let's see. It's in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and it is really about seeds in the end. So it's a futuristic movie where the girl
Mm-hmm.
has to find seeds, and seeds were genetically modified to only produce one crop instead of being able to then produce more food. So the world was starving at this point, but
Ah,
he found the seeds that would actually repollinate, so they wouldn't have this shortage of food and this control over people. Dang it. Let
I
me go to Amazon because I
it
bought it. Amazon Prime. Give me a
it kind
second.
of sounds like Faux, but I don't think that's Faux because that's
No,
Saoirse Ronan. But
Amazon Prime Video. Prime Video. Go to Amazon.com. That's not what I wanted. Returns, orders. Where are my films? There's Amazon does everything now. You can't find what you need
yeah, I
if you
know.
purchase films. Now it won't show me. All right.
It's okay. We can skip that.
We'll
It's all
skip that
good.
one. Sorry.
It's all good. So would you have any director you wouldn't want to shout out as underrated?
Directors, I don't know any. I don't know any that would be considered like I have my favorites,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I don't know any that would be underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Directors are probably second for me for actors, like in terms of how I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Same thing for like colorists and
Mm-hmm.
editors, and they're just as important for the film as everybody else, but I don't know their names off the top of my head very well. So I don't know any that would be considered
All good.
underrated.
No,
Yeah.
it's all good. That's all good. So I know the next one is difficult because there are so many movies, but do you have one or two you would want to shout out as underrated? Like you think more people should give them a chance?
For a director, no, nothing comes to
No, for
mind.
movies. Like
Oh, for
one or
movies,
two, yeah, one or two movies you believe there are some underrated movies and people should give them a chance.
it's kind of hard to say because I
Mm-hmm.
think that the beautiful thing about movies is that it means different things to different people, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The same thing with music. So it's hard for, I remember being in college and I met this beautiful woman
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Oh, what kind of music do you listen to?" And I was in a band at the time. So I'm naming all these rock bands and she puts on Sade and I'm like, "What is this? I don't get it." And she was like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're not there yet." And I didn't know what she meant
Mm-hmm.
until many years later. And I'm listening to it. Now I listen to it all the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, this woman is phenomenal. Her band is amazing. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of the bass lines on her songs are just like really incredible if you start analyzing the music. And so eventually I kind of got there. And I think that that's the same way with film. You
Mm-hmm.
might watch film at a particular age where you don't have any appreciation for it, and then see it 5, 6 years later when you're kind of a different person, and then it changes. So
Mm-hmm.
well, for me, I'm character driven, so I would say, again, go back and watch the early Guy Ritchie films. For me, that's like you can't go wrong there if you like character films.
Yeah.
Um,
Like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
great one.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
great one. Yeah. I absolutely adore Clint Eastwood as a director. I mean,
Okay.
phenomenal actor as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that the way the way his films come out in directing are great. Ron Howard is another one. I feel that puts out some amazing
Mm-hmm.
films.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
that's yeah, some solid choices there. Yeah, 100 that's pretty good. And do you have a TV show you would want to shout out as underrated?
I mean, if you haven't seen Peaky Blinders, watch Peaky Blinders because that
I
was
still
just
haven't.
oh
I'm one of the few people who
oh
still have has not seen it, and I know
yeah
again it's on my list. I know about
yeah.
it. I know it's supposed
So
to be excellent.
it really is excellent.
Hmm.
Just great characters and great storylines, and each season was good. Like I don't remember a
Hmm.
bad season. I think they're coming out with a movie
Yes.
uh as a follow-up for it. But what is let me see what this other I think it's another it's another series that was out. I like crime, the
Hmm.
whodunit films. And now I'm not going to remember, of course, the name. I want to say The Stranger, but it's not The Stranger. But they came out with a few different versions where each season was different stories, but
Mm.
similar to True Detective, where
Hmm.
same theme, kind of like a who done it, but they take it and they do it in a different way. So it's not so much who
Hmm.
done it because they show you who done it. They show
Okay.
you who done it in the beginning. The trick is why.
Okay.
And the story is in the why, which I found to
Mm.
be fascinating because you can look at the first episode and say, guilty, crazy, murderous
Yeah.
rage, whatever. But then you start learning what actually happened, and then you start going back and revisiting, your thoughts about that character.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I find that to be true to life, right? Because if you really understood what somebody was going through,
Hmm.
it's easy to judge them on one event, but it's a lot harder to see the story that led up to that point. And
100%.
that's what makes people interesting. So,
Hmm.
of course, I forget the name of it. My mind does not work so well.
It's okay.
Not The Stranger. Yeah. All right. Yep.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No, thank you so much, Mariano, for your time. Like you've been kind and patient enough with me, answering all my questions. Before we say goodbye, because obviously
Yeah.
you're a busy man, you need to run soon.
Yeah. Take
Do
my
you have a
kids out.
question or two for me?
Yeah, give me I'll give you the question that we talked about. We use this in music a lot. We say if you were on a desert island
Mm-hmm.
and you only had one CD that you could take with you or album, what would it be? But I'll give you, if you were on a desert island, you could only watch one film,
Mm-hmm.
which one would it be?
One film. Ooh, that's a
You only
tricky
have
one.
one film to watch for
Yeah,
the however many years before you're rescued.
I would want to see something that's unique and something that's out there. So like I wouldn't pick necessarily that's okay. I The first one that comes to mind is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
I'm not one of those who's like it's my favorite movie right now. Like even though it's up there. Like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
probably my top 20. But the reason for that, I think you don't get bored with that movie because there are so many things happening in that. So like even if I were to watch it once every few days, I still think it would take me a while to get annoyed by it. Whereas
You
like
would
my
discover new,
my
new things each time you
yeah, yeah,
watch.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because my
yeah,
like favorite movies are more quote unquote straightforward. So like I'm not I'm the person who if I have a favorite movie, I don't actually watch them that often because I like to enjoy it. Like
right.
I would watch it once every like 2, 3, 4, 5 years, if that.
Yeah,
So, but no, that's me. So probably that movie. Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, that's a good answer.
Okay.
Yeah, no wrong answers, but yeah, it's a good answer.
Thank you. Thank you. So no, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
If people
Welcome.
enjoyed our conversation, what's the best place for them to find you? Where should they go to follow you?
I mean, the easiest would be 4olivesproductions.com. All of our
Hmm.
films are there. You can find all of the socials there. Mariano Mattei. There's not that many Mariano Matteis, only about five in the world. So
Hmm.
you'll find me. I have a new look now with the beard, so
Nice.
You'll find me on. I don't do the big ones, I guess, like Facebook and Instagram,
Hmm.
primarily YouTube.
Okay.
So yeah, 4 Olives Productions. You can find all of our films there, and yeah, if you have a chance, check some of them out.
Sure. Those links will be down there in the description so people can just
Great.
click on and look out for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, as always, In Movies Lost on Letterboxd, lostinmovies.co.uk, which is my blog, and here every second Friday. And this is the end. So, as always, this podcast is part of SPDM Crew Podcast Media. Special thanks goes to HiFlyer Creative for designing my logo. To see what else they have happening, visit hiflyercreative.com. And until next time, bye bye.